next recipe is a sweet almond milk. I thoroughly enjoy drinking almond milk. I can't imagine why anybody would ever want dairy of any kind, especially dairy milk, after drinking sweet almond milk. You can do so many things with this. This is a great base for hot chocolate, things like that, chocolate milkshakes. So many things you can do raw and living and organic and healthy just with a base of almond milk. So I definitely encourage you to try this recipe, and I know that you're going to enjoy this as much as I do. We're going to start off with almonds, okay? So you can actually use any nut or seed for this recipe. You don't have to stick to almonds. Almonds are easy to find. You're gonna wanna look for your raw organic version, of course, that's optimal, but find whatever it is that's available at your store. But you can use cashews, you can use macadamia nuts, you can use Brazil nuts, you can use sunflower seeds. I mean, you can use whatever nut or seed you have on hand. And I have some almonds here, and of course, we have soaked these raw almonds in water for 8 hours. And what we're doing, by doing that, we're going to be releasing the enzyme inhibitors, and we're going to get access to those very valuable amino acids that are found in the almond itself. And those amino acids are basically the building blocks of protein. So your almond milk, especially if those almonds are raw and they've been soaked overnight for 8 hours, is going to be an excellent source of protein. Okay, so this is just soaked in purified water. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the water. So I have my almonds now that have been drained of the water. We want to let go of that water because that water has a lot of enzyme inhibitors in it that we do not wish to consume. So we want to let that water go. And I have then a cup of soaked almonds. So since they've been soaking, they look a little bit more than a cup, and that's not a big deal. The almonds actually soaked that water up, and that's why you want to use a nice clean water, so purified water, not tap water at all. I'm going to take these soaked almonds, or any nut or seed that you want to use, and I'm going to add them to the blender. And the blender here has 3 cups of water. Again, this is purified water. We're using an alkaline water today, but any water other than tap water is fine. So that's 3 cups of water and 1 cup of soaked almonds. And to that mix, you could actually do that if you wanted to just make an unsweet milk, that's perfectly fine. But what we're going to add to that to make a nice sweet milk today are dates. This is a medjool date. And the medjool date, of course, has a pit inside that we're going to want to remove. And the way you do that is by just squeezing that date and pulling that pit out. So we're going to set that aside. And that is a very soft date. If it wasn't so soft, it might be more challenging to get that out. But just in case those dates are not soft, we have soaked our dates overnight in water. This water is delicious, by the way. It's very, very sweet. You could use it instead of just the plain water that we've used earlier. But for now, I'm just going to let that go. But you could just as easily use that water for this recipe. Great. Okay, so I've removed the water from this jar. These dates have been soaking for about 4 hours in purified water. And of course, we've removed the dates before we soaked them. So I'm just going to go ahead and add them in here. You can do 2 or 3 dates, depending on your personal preference and how sweet you would like your milk to be. My favorite version is 3 dates. Always has to have 3 dates. So we've added the natural sugars from the dates. And all we're going to do now is blend. Okay, so you're going to want to go ahead and blend your almond milk until it's nice and well blended. You want to get it all broken up as much as possible in there. So that's what we've done here. And we have this beautiful almond milk in here. Now, almonds have a lot of pulp. So if we're using almonds for this particular recipe, we're going to want to strain that grittiness or that pulp out of this milk. You can drink it just like this, but you might find that the gritty texture is not as nice. It's not as smooth as you might like. If you're pouring it over, you know, something that you wouldn't notice that in, it's not a big deal. But if you're just drinking it as is, I would recommend going ahead and straining this. And you can do this in many, many ways. What we're going to do today is we're going to just take a bowl, and we're going to use what we call a strainer bag or a nut milk bag. You can actually purchase these bags. It's just a strainer. It's just a fine mesh that's in a bag form. We're going to pour the milk into this to catch all that pulp. We do sell these at Living Foods Institute, so you can find us online at livingfoodsinstitute.com if you'd like to purchase something like this. But any kind of very fine mesh screen or mesh bag, even going to a hardware store and finding a paint strainer bag can work for this particular recipe and for this particular part of the recipe. If you're using cashews or certain seeds or other kinds of nuts, they don't all need to be strained, but if you're using almonds, it's best to strain them. So what I'm going to do is I have a bowl, and I'm put the nut milk bag in the bowl. I'm going to go ahead and pour the contents of my blender into the strainer bag. Okay, and now what I'm going to do, since this is over a bowl, I'm simply going to squeeze. So I want to make sure that I'm holding the top of the bag firmly so that it doesn't pop out the top. And we're just basically going to be milking the bag. I always think of this as like I'm milking a cow or milking the bag. And you'll just strain until you get this pulp that's in the bag as dry as you can. So you just keep on straining, and I'll just go ahead and I could keep straining, but that'll be fine for now. This is just full of nut pulp, and you can use that for a different recipe or just set that aside. And what I have now is this beautiful, delicious nut milk. Enjoy.